In this week's art appreciation video, I chose to do Kerry James Marshall's Lost Boy painting, made in 1993. If you don't already know about Kerry James Marshall, he has spent a lifetime at the crux of identity art and identity politics. As a young black man growing up in areas of sociology-charged movements, witnessing activism spread through the rotted roots of systemic racism, he was familiar with the charged art and culture stemming from history's progressive call to change. Yet, as a modern creative, he felt the Western art tradition was loudly absent of everyday black voice and experience. He has focused his career as an artist working against this marginalization in the visual sphere by injecting blackness into the grand narrative of art, seen through his symbolic, allegorical paintings where black life and existence are memorized for both extraordinary beauty and the sublime mundane. In this painting, two young black boys are depicted, one in a green sweater riding a coin-operated car and smiling, and the other standing in front of the car and smiling with his hands down behind his side. The second's right fist is clenched, and his left hand holds a pink gun. Each boy is marked with the date of his death. In front of the race car is an orange cherub sculpture, and beside that a bouquet of white lilies and a small votive candle. On the ground lie 4 colorful toy balls. To the left of the image stands a tree with blue leaves, bearing round green fruit. At the center of each fruit is a single gray bullet. Wrapped around the trunk of the tree is a strand of yellow tape stating "Police line, do not cross." The ground is comprised of black and white checkerboard, and the background is deep red with white polka dots. Several white rectangles hang above the scene, including 3 along top that bear the letters C, Y, and S, and 2 along the side that read POW. For Marshall, this painting was created to highlight the challenges faced by young black boys in the United States. It also mirrors the concept of the lost boys who never wanted to grow up. From the story of Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, applying it to a concept of being lost in America, lost in the ghetto, lost in public housing, lost in joblessness, and lost in illiteracy. The mixture of symbols of innocence lost within childhood, along with symbols of violence and death, serves as homage to the countless black lives lost, and black children who were never given the opportunity to grow up. He notes that these works were seminal, explaining that when I finished those, I felt like I had arrived at a moment when I was more sure of myself as an artist and what I wanted to do and how to do it. Then I had been up to that moment. There was a kind of clarity. Marshall explains that this series was somewhat autobiographical. As his youngest brother ended up in prison, he spent 7 years in prison and went to jail just shortly before I started the Lost Boys series. A part of the reason I started that group of painting was a reaction to how I felt about him being incarcerated. I mean, it's one thing when you know other people or hear about people who are taken to jail or to prison, and especially through certain violent kinds of incidents, but it's another thing when it's now at home and it's your own brother. Other works in the series feature individual portraits of young black men who were murdered. Speaking of his portraits, Marshall asserts they exist completely outside of time, because I think this question of representation is not an issue that's peculiar to this particular moment. A formal analysis of this is the linearity of the gun and surrounding details creates tension, suggesting a conflict between innocence and the harsh realities of life for young black boys. The use of floral motifs around the edges adds an ornamental quality reminiscent of memorial imagery, such as flowers at a gravesite, further reinforcing themes of loss and mourning. Marshall's Lost Boys reflects a powerful narrative about the vulnerability of young black males in American society. The title itself, Lost Boys, suggests themes of both lost innocence and lives cut short. The toy gun serves as a critical symbol representing the intersection between childhood play and the ever-present threat of violence. The fallen boy evokes the image of a child struck down, while a standing boy seems to symbolize resilience or survival amid tragedy. The delicate flowers surrounding the boys could be interpreted as a memorial wreath, reinforcing the sense of loss and mourning. The spatial arrangements in Lost Boys is intentionally ambitious. There is no clear sense of background or environment, which creates a floating, almost dreamlike atmosphere. The boys appear to be suspended in an undefined space, isolated from any specific context or narrative, which enhances the universality of the themes Marshall is addressing. The lack of depth contributes to the flatness of the image, further emphasizing the symbolic over the representational. Marshall's painting style is smooth and redefined, with a little visible brushwork. This polished surface gives the work a sense of stillness and quietude, as if frozen in time. The lack of rough texture reinforces the contemplative nature of the painting, allowing the viewer to focus on the figures and symbols without distraction. Next, I chose Amy Sherald's Welfare Queen painting, made in 2012. If you don't already know, Amy Sherald is an acclaimed American painter known for her vibrant and thought-provoking portraits that explore themes of identity, race, and culture. Born in 1973 in Columbus, Ohio, she gained significant recognition for her distinctive style, characterized by a bold use of color and a unique approach to representation. Sherald often portrays African American subjects in contemporary settings, challenging traditional notions of portraiture. Her most notable work includes the portrait of Michelle Obama, which was unveiled in 2018 at the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery. This piece not only garnered widespread attention but also solidified Sherald's position as a leading figure in contemporary art. Through her work, she invites viewers to engage with complexities of African American identity and the narrative surrounding it, often incorporating elements of realism and abstraction. In addition to her portrait work, Sherald's art reflects her commitment to social commentary, inviting conversations about history, representation, and the experience of marginalized communities. Her contributions to the art world continue to inspire and influence a new generation of artists and audiences alike. Amy Sherald's Welfare Queen is a striking portrait that challenges racial and social stereotypes. The painting depicts on a confident black woman standing proudly in a bright red dress, with her hand on her hip and an air of dignity. Sherald's use of grayscale to depict the woman's skin, contrasted with vibrant colors in her clothing, is a signature technique that shifts focus to the subject's identity and presence. The flat, minimalistic background emphasizes the woman's figure, turning her into a symbolic representation of resilience and strength. By titling the work Welfare Queen, Sherald subverts a historically negative stereotype, transforming the figure into an icon of empowerment, dignity, and defiance against social stigmas associated with black womanhood and poverty. In this painting, it offers a striking portrayal of a black woman that challenges stereotypes, engages with social issues, and reflects Sherald's unique approach to portraiture. The painting rendered in Cheryl's distinctive style, is notable for its flat, geometric quality, subdued color palette, and the powerful presence of its subject. The figure of the woman is placed centrally, commanding the viewer's attention. She stands directly facing the viewer, her body upright and confident, filling the most of the vertical space of the canvas. Her pose is both assertive and dignified, with her hand on her hip and a calm, self-possessed expression. Behind her is a minimalist flat background in a solid hue, typical of Cheryl's work, which removes any sense of setting or context, focusing entirely on the figure. Cheryl's color choices are highly symbolic. The woman's skin is painted in a muted gray